My name's Flo. I'm joined today by Wolf Worster from Seretti. Wolf, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to have a chat.
And as you know, I invited you over to this little chat to talk a little bit about your current project, more towards the end, but really to tell the story on how you got into our industry and where you come from, the twists and turns that your life took, and yeah, like I said, how you got to where you are today. And I understand you are we share some common heritage.
We do. We're German.
German. So whereabouts in Germany is your family from?
Well, my father is near the Frankfurt area where he grew up and studied, and my mother from sort of like Westphalia, it's Hagen and Düsseldorf area, yeah, where she came from. So not too far apart. But then they emigrated, early on as young, after university, to Canada.
And then you were born and raised on Vancouver Island?
Yes, a small town right next door to where Pamela Anderson was born and lives again today. This is the famous community. Did
you bump into in a supermarket at any point?
No, we left when I was a toddler, but I'll tell you, the area has grown. It's a beautiful part of Canada.
Well, now I'm thinking that maybe since you shared kind of the location with Pamela Anderson, that was kind of something that triggered kind of your career path into the kind of celebrity world, but more about that later. So is that, I'm countryside boy myself, where you grew up, is that kind of the place where you get married and settle down, or as a young person you say, hey, I need to get out of here and discover the world?
I think you described it perfectly. That is, it's at that time, but more of a blue collar community. And my father was in the pulp and paper industry. And, we moved when I was very, very young to Vancouver, to the big city. But that seems to be the case. That describes it well.
And then you mentioned, and that's the title of today's episode, that you had at some point the dream to become a crime scene investigator.
Yeah, well, I watched too much television as a child, perhaps. But I was so interested in criminology and some of that. I even studied a few years in university. I didn't finish my degree, but I went for the first 2 years and did exceptionally well, purely because I was interested in it. But just had a real big 360-degree change of heart and decided to get into tourism after that. We're halfway through my degree.
And also, we talked about this earlier. You mentioned that you had maybe a little bit of a realization that crime scene investigation sounds very interesting on one side, but has obviously also a very dark side attached to it. And that led a little bit to maybe a change in the path that you took.
It did, totally. I had talked to friends' fathers and uncles that were in the industry or were working for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the ones with the horses. And you take it home. I mean, some people can take it home with them, and I think I thought, I'm a little bit too optimistic, and I can see how that can happen to some people, and that was part of the reason why I didn't continue.
Okay. And then how did your kind of path work into the entrepreneur that you are today?
Well, and that happened at the same time, sort of as during university. I was 19 years old, and a good friend of mine from our badminton and tennis club said, "Hey, I'd like to start a business. What do you think?" I said, "Oh, I'd love to." It's all talk when you're young. You have your first beer type of thing. But what happened? Literally a few months later, we opened up a sun tanning salon, and right in the heart of in the city of Vancouver. It's a great little business. It was 19 years old. We took our little savings, both of us. We got surprisingly a small business loan, and we did okay. It was a great learning experience for small business. I was surprising myself, but it was fun too.
So you saw the pale Canadians and thought, hey, I think there's something to be made.
A lot of flight attendants, a lot of dancers, a lot of people that felt that they needed that, for whatever reason. And, Vancouver is a beautiful city, but it's very gray. So it's probably a good city to do that type of business.
Sure. You need a bit of that sun, or fake sun at least. For how long did you do that?
It was about 4 years. Then we sold it on. We thought, oh, do we expand or do we sell? And there's a national chain that approached us. That that was meant to be. We sold it to him, and then we went on our ways. And my partner went on to get into finance, and I went on to be a travel industry entrepreneur.
Yeah, how did that happen?
You know, I traveled all over the world as a child. And aside, I played junior badminton for the national badminton team. Nice amateur sport, very random. My mother got me into it, and I played in 2 Pan American Game Championships. I traveled all over the world as a junior player, junior meaning under 16, and I did continue on until my early 20s. I thought, oh man, I sure love this travel stuff, and I thought, well, I'll get a career that's a positive, online criminology and travel, and it only made sense to try to make a living in the travel industry.
And so your first job, was that right after the tanning salon that you found a job in the tourism industry?
Yeah, I had a couple of small sort of sales rep jobs for tour operators. I mean, just sort of contract and starting out and learning. We call it when they get you on to learn the first year. And then not long after, I thought, well, you know, being German and wanting to go back as an adult, maybe I could help some Canadian companies who love the German and European market get some business. So I put together a little group. We called it the Western Canada Travel Alliance, and I had, the province of Alberta, Travel Alberta. I had a hotel chain. I had a bear lodge in northern British Columbia, and a couple of tour operators. Put them together, and they would share the cost, basically sales and marketing representation in Europe, and that was great fun. That worked well. Everyone was happy. I had a good time. Did that for about 8 years.
So you were doing the show circus, like the ITBs and the travel market at a very, very early stage.
In my 20s, absolutely.
In your 20s. So what year are we talking about, just about?
A long time ago. Okay. This is the 90s. That's all I'm going to say. 90s. Early 90s flow.
Okay.
Good fun, good experience. Loved it.
And then you worked in the field for about how many years?
I think I did this for about 8 years. And then I ran into a gentleman, I can't remember how we met, but in Geneva. And he said to me, I don't know if we were at a dinner party or somewhere. He said, you're in the travel business, aren't you? I said, yeah. I said, I've got these oligarchs who need chalets, specifically in the Swiss Alps and a little bit in France. Oh, well, God, rich people, beautiful chalets. Sure, I'll listen. And ultimately ended up helping him for a year or two, and then finished the alliance. I said, okay, we're done. I'm going to move on, and did this full time. Moved back to Canada and started my own. I mean, this gentleman, his name was Ivan, eventually got out of the business, and I started my own sort of villa agency / property management company for just really, quite frankly, the super high end.
Yeah. So how do you build a network in that field? It's not like you can approach them in the local supermarket, or you run across them if you're not entirely in that circle. So how do you build a network there?
That was the hardest part. You know, for a little while, we did, well, it was a combination. Some Google AdWords. Back then, there wasn't a lot of competition. Very luxury villas. Now, good luck. There's a few of us in this industry. We all became kind of colleagues and relied on each other, which is the second part how we all got business. We worked off each other. Someone specialized in St. Bart's, and someone specialized in the Austrian Alps. And his name was Robert. He's still doing it in Hamburg, and we worked together. And so that helped a lot. But we were all doing a bit of Google AdWords, and it was successful then. It always worked. And also what I found in my little niche was homeowners became clients and clients became homeowners. They were the exact same demographic. And then that word of mouth. And listen, it was this is me and a couple other part-time people. It's a small company, very low volume, but big turnover. I mean, we were doing 4 million a year at the peak, and it's just really me and 2 part-timers, right? But the price points were very high. So,
okay. And then, so like you mentioned, then this is people go like, hey, I'm working with this Wolf guy. He got us this really nice villa in the Hamptons, and you're being passed around among the rich and famous.
I was the worker bee and happy to have been that. Absolutely.
And then, yeah, in this kind of specific clientele, they have very specific requirements, and that also kind of already starts with kind of privacy that's required when you work with them.
You're right. I did. I mean, I learned that. I didn't really know the difference. Otherwise, being very nervous the first few times when you're talking to the sister of a billionaire or the family office, and really they won't tell you who the client is until the very end. And so that was the need to, okay, I got to get a lawyer. We got to put some proper NDAs and privacy contracts in place. There's also the owners too. Some owners didn't want their homes on a public website or shown at all. That made it a lot of extra work, but I respected that, and so did they. So yeah, there's a lot of pre-booking administration to protect all the parties. At that time. This time it's a little bit more. There's a few other ways that people do it these days, but it's a big concern in that market.
And now since we're on that, I think some name dropping is required. Like, I know you had to sign some NDAs, so don't know how far you can get, but you did mention kind of some names that are kind of fairly recognizable of people you work with.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, most of the NDAs I was not able to say who was staying where at what villa. After they left, there was no issues. Okay. So, I mean, Janet Jackson was a super client. She was a regular. Ben Stiller, who I got to know personally, I mean, character, he was a regular as well. They weren't always the big spenders. Owen Wilson, I was fortunate enough to spend a bit of time with him with some alcohol one night in where was I in Los Angeles. So some nice chances to not just be the worker bee, and although I was happy to do that. Yeah. And they were good. They were generally good experiences, and I got to know the travel managers quite well in some cases. Sometimes it was their family members who did the bookings. The big spenders were really Wall Street and the oligarchs, and then the odd booking which came from London via the Middle East or even China. Yeah. Right. So that was the big stuff.
And then those are people that usually you don't recognize the name, and it's just someone who's fairly well off and books.
Exactly.
There'll be bathrooms for him and his
That's true. Yeah, and it's true. Yeah, I have one story I could share with you, but yeah, I mean, I would check these oligarchs. I say, oh yeah, they're the top 400 in Forbes and this and that. Yeah. A couple American ones, they're quite recognizable names. But yeah, they weren't known to me, but they were certainly afterwards, and spend a lot of money, and you learn really how to deal with them. I've had to come up with, with kosher kitchens, and for a lot of Wall Street guys in New York, you had to figure it out. A lot of work, a lot of customizable things, which
sure,
lot to ask homeowners to do or find out. But you did it, and everyone was happy, and they're willing to pay for it. So, as long as you had that clear, everyone's happy.
Did you ever get starstruck a little bit?
There was a couple of years when I thought it was kind of fun to go to LA every month, but not. No, I try to keep it. I would never ask to take pictures of them, never, because I knew that's exactly what the other guys did. Yeah. Never. Yeah. I've got a couple, but no, I was happy with the business. I was just, let's just do a good job and sit in the
How do you not take advantage of that and go kind of to a bar and chat to someone and go like, yeah, last weekend when I was kind of with my buddy Ben Stiller, and then hold on, it's like it's Janet Jackson calling me here, so give me a sec.
It's
you're very restrained man, I would say.
I was with Owen Wilson and his brother one night. We were all guarded off in a basically a club, and it was people were just staring. And the next day, I went out with a friend of mine. So, what did you do last night? That's when I can say, well, it was pretty boring, and then I could tell him what I did. And but it was just, I just knew it was protocol. And it was fortunate. The phone kept ringing, and what it was great about it, like in any business and industry or our industry, it's repeat business with no cost. The client acquisition cost went to zero because they knew Wolf adheres to the contracts and trust them and is reliable. So I'd rather have that. Sure, I would love to have some pictures and some and some.
At the end, it's the classical kind of Rolodeck. What do you call this? Rolodex,
yeah.
Rolodex, where it's like, okay, here I've got Wall Street. This is Hollywood. This is
crazy. And even during the recession in 2009. It was still happening. In fact, it was a busy year. It was crazy. What was, how opposite it was from the rest of the world in this little market.
Yeah, when you live in that area,
you're worth $4 billion, and now you're only worth $3.5. Well, you're
still
not going to stay in a Holiday Inn, as one client told me.
I know how it is exactly. I know exactly how it is.
Anyways, it was good fun. Good fun, very interesting.
Yeah, but that came to an end at some point.
Well, yes and no. What I found was a challenge is to keep the homes on for a while once clients got to know about them, and all of a sudden, we don't want to do it anymore. I mean, most of them never needed the money. They just wanted a few weeks a year, which made my job easy. It was always easy to get a few weeks, But then, so we had a lot of turnover, and then I thought, okay, I'm getting tired of being on the phone 24 hours a day. Had sold the company, restarted another brand called Volta Villas, and then COVID came. I thought, okay, this is a sign. These people, they live in Chicago. They want to spend. We don't know what's going on. Take our Aspen home off the market. We're going to stay there with my family for 3 months because we don't know what's going on. And I kindly shut about a third of the inventory down. I thought, you know what, that's a sign. Let's just stop it at that. Do a little consulting, and then got into what I was doing today, I guess.
Yeah, COVID was really kind of a change for many, where it just disrupted everything. Either it put fuel in some people's businesses, or just kind of made clear that you can't continue the way you were working before. And obviously, completely understandable that private homes then suddenly became more of a retreat in a fortress, and you didn't exactly want people you didn't know. You mentioned the churn. I'm a little bit interested in that. So, if people say, "Hey, I've got, a villa in Hawaii. I do want to kind of utilize this for a couple of weeks, a year, and then the rest of the year, I do want to make some money off of it." Why did they churn at the end? Did people kind of realize that there's some limitation to the flexibility they enjoy, or did they realize that, hey, actually, having people in my house might not be as kind of as much fun as I thought it is? Like, what happened in their mind?
It's a good question, Flo. I mean, a couple of them just had. First of all these homeowners had multiple homes. One client in particular had 26 homes. He also owned some Fairmonts and some Four Seasons hotels. Yeah. So an American client. He just wanted. He told me just give me a couple of weeks a year. Well, we were charging $12,000 a day. Yeah. Staff of 7. He said, I would be happy. No, he didn't actually tell me this. I never talked to Sherry went, we just want to cover the operating costs. And we did that with 3 weeks rent a year. Yeah. And $12,000 a night. And that was all he wanted. It was just being conscientious, even though he was a billionaire. Others had an ego. They thought they had the best house in the world. And they realized a special request like this, believe it or not, this model wants to change the color of your curtains. And I know she's only there for 3 weeks, but this is the kind of wacky stuff you get. You got to deal with those odd ego requests. And I said, listen, everything will be taken care of a professional team. You can put your team in. I'll manage it. We'll get it done if you want the revenue. And I think they just sometimes had enough of that as well. So
hold on. Did you ever change curtains for a client?
We lost that one in the end because the homeowner said, this is ridiculous. And this is a well-known
I would agree.
model. And I'm like, that's too bad I lose the deal, but the homeowner owns the inventory, right? They can.
We talked about this before when we discussed this project, that we were going to tell the story of Hangover and trick people into
that's right, yeah,
saying this is actually what happened. But what was kind of the wildest request that you did actually manage to pull off for a client?
Well, one was really interesting. The client spent over $1 million for a 2-week stay. This is New Year's week and Russian Christmas, which is the January 6th sort of week, generally speaking, every year.
Yeah.
And his daughters had to come a few times in advance on the private jet just to check it out. And they wanted to interview all the house staff. So that, I thought, that was pretty extravagant. And so they doubled the staff. They didn't like the one estate manager, so we got some. It was a lot of work, but they stayed for 2 weeks.
You had to replace some staff because they didn't like them?
That was their call. They claimed, his Russian wasn't good enough. Well, I never knew the guy, because I had someone on the ground in Aspen help me with the staff. But that was a big one, to spend $1 million, with the changing the staff, upgrading, and all special things. That was a big one for sure, and very. I mean, maybe the daughters just wanted to keep busy, and we're being a little bit generous with the dad's assets of the planes and whatnot. But that was.
I can not relate at all.
I certainly can.
I can understand that if you spend that kind of money, you're kind of like, if we're spending $1 million, I think we need to be a little bit picky. We can't just walk in there and say, "Hey, this is amazing." That microwave isn't really the ping of that microwave. Not sure.
Yeah, exactly. That was one that stands out, and the curtains one.
I like the curtain one.
Really, but she wouldn't budge, and we lost it. So
first thing I do, going to vacation rental, say like, no way, those curtains, no way.
It's amazing. But all that feedback, and the couch wasn't the right size or didn't match. Really,
But then I'm pretty sure that anyone who's got their properties on kind of the OTAs and has guests, it's like, hey, my guests don't spend $1 million, yet they complain about the same stuff just on a smaller stage. I had recently someone asked me to send them the average temperature for June, July, and August for where my house is, even though they're just staying 2 weeks in August because they're concerned about the climate.
That's pretty specific.
There was only some online tool you could use to find out all the information. Wouldn't that be helpful? So I think it's just, at the end of the day, it's just dealing with guests.
That's true.
Dealt with. It's just everything is bigger and brighter and heavier.
And one thing I can add is the damage deposits were certainly bigger and a little bit more traditional. I mean, people would send in money, and I would hold it because I was the key. We had to have the certified bank account to hold $50,000 in damage, and then send it back. I mean, this happened every time, but no one had a problem sending it. It's a bit archaic now, if you think about it, right?
I'm surprised because wiring 50K. I mean, anyone must kind of flinch a little bit when you're kind of wire. It doesn't matter how much money you have.
Crazy, yeah.
How did you spend COVID, lockdown? How was that? Where were you when things started happening?
In Vancouver.
Yeah.
In Vancouver, and so I did a number of little consulting things, and just like everyone else, was shocked and on the phone every day. The first few months, what do we do? And I made the most of it. I have 2 sons that were in Vancouver at the time, so we just did family time, and they obviously were in school, and let's just watch and wait for this thing to pass. And in some ways, a couple months was good for me to reflect on how I can move forward professionally, probably like a lot of people.
Yeah, it's almost like a reset button.
A little bit stressful at the beginning, of course, for everybody, but
it
ended up being very good now, and we look back on it, right?
And now you're based in Marbella.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's 24 degrees out today. I'm happy to be here.
How long have you been in Marbella?
On and off since last summer, and now I'm a permanent resident.
So that's where...
That's home now, you bet.
Seretti is being built.
Yes.
So let's touch on this a little bit, because that's your late... Oh, hold on. You worked for Turno as a consultant for a while?
Yeah, I was on a month-to-month contract and did a few things. It was great. I wanted to learn a bit more about the mainstream vacation industry, and they're a SaaS product. I thought, haven't done that before, so I was hoping I could achieve for them on a month-to-month basis, and we did for almost a year. That was great. good company, good service. That was really good because I made a lot of new relationships in the industry.
So we met.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and they're a good company. And yeah, I mean, that was not my forte by any means, but it really got me more engaged in the industry, which was good for me personally. And I think I achieved.
I also think once you've been your own boss and you had your own project, it always pulls you back towards that direction.
Absolutely, you're so right, and I knew I would. I just thought, well, let's learn a little bit more about the mass market here and understand the industry as it's grown so fast.
So let's touch on your current projects, Seretti. So first of all, I really like the name because it kind of works with the product, I feel. How do you get to that?
There's some Italian heritage there in the name. I had years ago taken some courses in something marketing and sort of how big companies were named. The big ones like Pepsi and all the ones with 2 syllables with strong for initial letters. Although Seretti is 3 syllables.
I was gonna say, like
it didn't follow suit. So we needed something a bit international. So it's a made-up name, essentially.
Okay.
And it also works for all the URLs, which is a real challenge these days.
Absolutely, because when I saw the name, also kind of with the black backdrop on the first trade show, it was really interesting because I think it is difficult. As soon as you want to register the domain these days, you can just type in random letters on the keyboard, and it's like, oh no, that URL is taken, even though it's 48 characters long and a random combinations of numbers and letters. So well done on that. And
trademark too. With the trade, I wanted to check the trademarks. If we grow and we're successful, we've got to make sure this is all clear. So absolutely. I went through that process as well. So
let's talk about it. What is it?
In a nutshell, the best way to simply describe Seretti is we're an association, an invitation-only association for the luxury and ultra-luxury vacation rental industry. And so our membership would include property owners, property management companies, which is the bulk of our membership, villa agencies who may not necessarily manage a property but have exclusive booking rights in some cases. And then we have, actually the largest category is those who hold the keys to the high net worth and very high net worth luxury travel agents, celebrity managers. We've got these lifestyle clubs. A lot of them are in London who book travel. You pay an annual fee, kind of like a concierge, and then family offices. And what the majority of the bulk of the members benefit from is this online portal. You have a listing, and you communicate with that latter category, and everybody wins. And to be on there, you need a certain there's quite a long application form just to make sure the viability and that we meet everyone is happy. It's luxury, we consider luxury and ultra luxury levels, shall we say?
Yeah.
It's interesting because every week I get probably 2 or 3. Hey, thanks. This is great. I was looking for something. I think more of the appreciation comes from the luxury agents and the celebrity managers, knowing that they found a reliable resource that meets their clients' needs, as opposed to, they're doing their private jet or yacht one day or something. They don't have time. They don't understand our industry or have those relationships.
Yeah. And
to find we have a great new member from the Villa Luxury Collection in Marbella. Perfect match. As an example, we have individual owners from Italy and Capri, Cortina, and Zermatt. So that is the biggest benefit. We also have a part-time data analyst who's combining every week data on the ultra high net worth and very high net worth, specifically for luxury private accommodation. And it's how they go, how they book, where they go, who do they go with, how many rooms they take, what's their average night spending, et cetera, et cetera. And we really, as far as we know, are the only ones who are trying to gather that data. That's globally too. And so members get that report, which the first one will come out in October. We also sponsor a day, it's a short stay week in Barcelona. We sponsor the Scale Luxury Day, that's a Friday, where we've got several panels, so it's kind of a Q&A, breakfast included. And now we, by virtue of getting known, we're getting some media publications, some luxury publications and media outlets asking, hey, we'd love to hear more about some of the members. Do you think they'd be interested in exposure? Brilliant. So right now, we're in the next issue of the Review magazine. It's the next publication from London. It's doing a 5-page spread on summer Mediterranean villas. And they're all 5 properties are Seretti members. So that is absolute bonus. I mean, at £4,000 a page, that's a great benefit for my members. I'm thrilled. And so are they, obviously, right?
And then I understand you also kind of, sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying, the other thing is what I'm realizing a lot of members is that they appreciate the engagement of the industry. You know, we're all focused like this, and you know, you and I are pretty active in the trade shows and travel quite a bit, but not necessarily the small property managers with that only manage 10, 12 luxury homes, or even the property owners. They don't have that luxury of time and an opportunity, or just don't have the marketing opportunity. So we help that, and a lot of engagement. We're also doing a dinner where we're inviting 16 members. Just come and get to know each other, work off each other. But that's kind of the goal of Seretti.
Understood. And I understand Marbella is also not the worst place to kind of build a bit of a network.
Yeah, some great partners here. Yeah, good market. True.
I think that's a wrap. We went from your early days to why you didn't become a crime scene investigator, and how you ended up providing Janet Jackson and Ben Stiller with a place to chill and to crash. Wolf, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I hope people enjoyed your story, and I'll see you at the next trade show.
We definitely will, and thanks for the time and the interest.
Thanks so much, Wolf. Have a good day.
Right. You too. Bye, Flo.